the 7.3. So we are going to study the confidence interval for a different situation. We call this proportion. So what's happening here is a special case. That's very special because it's the one that you are given less information. So this example here, say you want to study in some community, right? Some community neighborhood. On average, you find out 54 households out of 150, they have air conditioning, right? So based on those two numbers, right? We are trying to estimate like overall in this community, right? This is just like sample out of the 150 sample from the community. The community could be 1,000. Out of the two numbers, right? Two numbers, 54 out of 150, they have AC, right? So if you remember previously, how many numbers we are usually given, everybody? Like we usually given 3 numbers: sample size, sample average, the standard deviation. The standard deviation could be either coming from the population, from the sample. This case is coming from sample. We are using the T formula, right? So we are usually given 3 numbers, right? And then we do the calculation. There's one tip I want to share here, everybody. Wake up, is this one. Like on the exam, like you realize which formula to use. You have a T formula, you have the Z formula, right? Which one to use, everybody? So one of the tip I used to give is, if you are given S, where's the pad? Hold on. Pad, yes. Write down those stuff here. Okay. So what's happening is, if you are given S, everybody, then you should use T formula. This is not 5. Okay, this is S. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to do. Okay, that's S, right? So if it's given, so like S and T alphabetically, they're together. Is that right? So that help you remember which formula to use. If it's a sigma, then we are using Z formula. Is that clear? So in this case here, you see like S and T alphabetically together. Z is the end, the last one in the alphabetical. Is that right? Sigma is not even in the alphabetical. Is that right? So I mean, they are kind of together, right? So you see what I mean? That hope that helps you, like when you try to solve the problem, which formula you should use. Anyway, so that's the one tip I want to share. Now back to the 7.3. We are only given 2 numbers, right? We are only given 2 numbers, and we still want to solve this, right? Yes, we can, but only for the special situation when we're talking about proportion, like 54 out of 150. What's the corresponding proportion? 36%, right? Only when we talk about like percentage, then given 2 numbers, we can find out the confidence interval, right? So in that case here, we are going to use the notation. If you remember, like percentage, we have like P and a Q. Like they're always like one pair, the same as here, right? So that is the one we are using. P hat is the proportion, we got 36%, and the Q hat is coming from the 1 minus P hat, which is 64%. So PQ, they are always one pair. The relationship, there's a hat here, there's a hat here, right? Any questions? Now, the formula we are going to use is this formula here, everybody. This formula, let me erase that, okay. So, this formula, which one's that? Is to this one. Here's the formula I'm talking about, right? And this is the formula we learned in the 7.1, right? If you compare that, that's actually very similar, right? Very, very similar, right? Previously, we have the sample average, we have the Z, right? We have a sigma, 7.1, we know that, right? Now, 7.3, we know p hat. Everybody, the formula actually we are using is this one. I think I was pointing to this one, right? This one because it's going to be the final form. The format is this, right? I should erase that so you don't get confused, right? The final formula we are using is this one, the one that we highlight that here, right? So we have p hat minus also z. That means what, everybody? That means if we are talking about 95%, the z alpha divided by 2 should be what? 1.96, right? And then z is 90%, the z should be equal to like 1.65, right? And 99%, that one should be 2.58, right? I mean, after a few more practice, those numbers, you will get more and more familiar, right? I mean, somebody wake you up in the middle of the night, what's 95% corresponding to, right? You can easily answer that, right? After you get familiar, more and more practice for that. Now, that's the z. The square root of p hat. As a p hat, we have here 36%. Q hat is 1 minus p hat, so 64%. Sample size n is how many people, how many households we are talking about here, right? How many households we are talking about here, everybody? Be careful here, 150, that's a good answer, okay. Yes, 150. All right, the tricky part is somebody may get confused. Is that 54, right? So be very careful here. The sample size, we have 2 numbers. Out of how many total? That's the sample size, okay. You don't want to use the 54. 54 is out of the total sample 150, okay. Now, we plug everything into that equation. We solve that. What's the lower limit, the upper limit. I'm lazy, I didn't calculate that here. So you can punch the numbers to find out that lower proportion, the upper proportion. All right. One more example here. Example number 2 is about people buying books. So they're trying to study that. So they are given 15.9% of 1,721 people, they buy books every year, right? So out of curiosity here, so how many of you buy books last year? Paper books. If yes, say yes. Would you mind? Buy paper books. Yes, yes. Oh, no. Okay. How many of you buy like those electrical, like ebook? What do you call these? Like Kindle, or like some books like that. How many of them? Let me see. If let me do this: 1 for paper, 2 for ebook, 3 for notebooks. I mean, I'm talking about not a textbook, okay? Like any book you want to read, any even like a comic book or any book, right? Not in terms of the textbook, right? So 1 is the paper text, not a textbook, right? 1 is the paper other books, 2 is the ebook, 3 is none of those, right? Okay, 1 or 2 if you buy both, right? Yeah. So I see is 1 is okay. Has quite a few. 1, 2, okay. Yeah. So the ebook seems not that, let me see, I didn't see that many. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? We have 5 people here. A little bit less, right? Yeah. What do you think? I mean, the paper book and the ebook. Well, I mean, which one in terms of what do you think? Which one is more convenient or more easy for you to finish? Any preference? Any opinion? I mean, recommendation? I hope that I'll wake up a few people. Audiobooks. Okay, that's a good one. Yes, I forget that. Yes, audiobooks is a good one. Yeah, I like that. I was driving always. I mean, the listening to just like a podcast or something like that, right? Yeah, yeah, cheaper. Okay, yeah, or cheater. I don't know what I mean. All right. So, I mean, so some time ago, I heard about someone talking about pros and cons in terms of the paper book and ebook. The one significant difference is those ebooks, right, is easy to forget, or somehow you are not able to finish. Like somehow they find out that like if you are reading or in the middle of reading something and got distracted, and then probably later you just forget that book, right? Compared with paper book, is somewhere there. Like if you even put like a bookmark or something, try to indicate where you are finished, right? And next time you just continue to whatever, the last time left, right? I mean, you can guarantee it's more easy to check to finish. I think to me, that's one of the significance I see. Okay, keeps my mind engaged. So it's for paper book or ebook? Astrid, Dawson, which one you're talking about? A speed of reading to keep my mind more engaged. I was kidding that quick idea. Ebook. Oh, ebook. Keep my mind engaged. Okay, a speed of reading. Oh, you say you can speak. Okay, I see. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's continue our since we are talking about the book here, right? So that's the information to find out, everybody. You see, they also give us two numbers too, right? Pay attention, like two numbers, 15.9% out of a total 1,721 people, right? So percentage, like p hat, they give you directly, right? Last time is like 54 out of 150. So you have to calculate the p hat. But this time they give you that directly. Sample size, they know that, right? Q hat, how do we find out Q hat is 1 minus P hat, right? That's the proportion. And for the Z alpha divided by 2, because we are using this formula, we need to find out like this Z, because we are using 95%, it's 1.96, right? So in the P hat, Q hat, we know that, oh, there's a P hat, a Q hat here, right? There's a P hat, a Q hat here, right? So we plug all the number, we find out 14.2% and 17.6%. So what do we say? We say 95% of a chance, or you can say 95% of people, let me see, to be more accurate, that is 95% of chance there will be a percentage between 14.2% to 17.6% of people, they will buy books every year. It's kind of a long sentence here. Let me try to translate, right? It's not that straightforward, but you got the idea that when people talk about this range, right, like between 14.2% to 17.6% is what? It's like 95% of the time. That will be this range. Of course, this might be wrong, right? But you only have 5% of chance making mistakes. That's the one we are trying to control, right? So 95% of the time within that range, right? So that's the idea for this 7.3. If you are given two numbers, right? If you are given two numbers in terms of proportion, in terms of percentage, the one that we mentioned are here, then we can use that this formula here, this Z formula, but using P hat, Q hat. Any questions, everybody? Let me see. I think that's covered our chapter 7.